Hi friends, Kim Skorupski here, back at the Faculty Factory Podcast Fact Chat. So today, I thought I would just briefly gab about this thing that I was talking about in the interview with Troy Buer the other day. It got me thinking more about our all-women's leadership programs, because he and I were talking about the importance of being mindful of interdisciplinary teams and how it's so important to work, the days back when it was all the sole lone wolf kind of model of doing research by yourself and doing everything by yourself are gone now. Everything's in a team. So it's physicians, clinicians, practitioners, nurses, staff, students, trainees all together, and how it's so important that we're trained on leadership together so that we can all be talking the same language and understanding the same concepts and sharing the same values and institutional hospital values, center division, lab values, etc., and how it's so important to do that. And then, we were also talking about how you can't underestimate the power of being in a room with people who are just like you, so that you feel like it's a safe environment. So the example I talked about was how in our women's leadership program for a couple of years there, Dr. Barbara Feibush, our Senior Associate Dean for Women, had invited some of the MD, PhD students to join our junior faculty leadership program for women. And it created kind of an interesting dynamic where there was this split group that was just the 6 or 8 handful of students and then the faculty members. And there was this kind of a separation that them versus us, not that they sat apart. Actually, they did sit together, but it was a little bit awkward. And then we were worried about that dynamic making things a little awkward for both groups. And then I shared with Troy the other example of how when we started offering yoga and Pilates and Tai Chi, where a faculty member kind of cornered me in an elevator and said it was great that we were offering these things for everyone, but she felt awkward putting her sweat clothes on and her yoga pants on and lying next to staff and people she supervised. So it was it felt to her to be awkward. So, I was thinking more about this homogeneous groupings of leadership programs versus heterogeneous grouping of folks. And I still am not quite sure how I feel about that, because we've debated that at Hopkins as well. Years ago, our Associate Dean for Diversity and Inclusion, Dr. Chiquita Collins, who's now in Texas, we talked about, should we have a leadership program for underrepresented in medicine folks? We don't have too many at Hopkins. Not doing as good a job as we could with diversity, although we're working very, very hard on it. And so we thought, well, geez, we have co-ed programs, we have an all-women's programs, maybe we should have an underrepresented in medicine program. And so we always go back and forth, or, back then with Chiquita Collins, we all talked about that. What are the benefits and what are the costs of doing that? And we ended up erring on the side of not having a separate program for underrepresented in medicine faculty members, because we didn't want them to feel different or other or somehow not included with everyone else. But then, of course, that raised a whole debate about, well, we have it just for women. Are we doing the same thing by having women alone from men? And then, of course, we get into the other argument is, well, all these important messages that women are hearing in these women's leadership programs, the men should be hearing them as well, right? Because we work together. And so surely the men should have opportunity to understand these challenges and hear both sides of that. So, of course, we all nod our heads, and there's valid points to be made on both sides. And then for those of us who teach in the women's programs, there is a part of us that kind of goes, oh, geez, but in those women's programs, there's such a fabulous connection and an energy that is really unique to the women's programs. And I think it has to do with just that safe environment of everyone saying, okay, we share these same experiences. We've been there. We know what we're talking about. A little bit more freedom perhaps to be honest and talk about these experiences. So, we see that happening. And I also teach, of course, in the co-ed program, and it's a little bit different there. So we're still, back and forth, and I still struggle with that because some of the wonderful things that happen in that women's program, you always wish, I think, oh gosh, I wish some of our leaders who are male could be here on a fly on the wall and kind of see this and understand this and appreciate the unique nature of these women's programs. Because, of course, we still have some people who think, well, oh, that's really nice that you have that, but it's not really making any difference, or not convinced that we're really having an impact on programs. And for those of us who do this kind of work, we see that. We see that socializing and the networking and the shared understanding and the tears and the laughter and the nodding of the heads and the understanding, the struggling of balancing having babies and being pregnant, and do I take these opportunities to go travel and give talks when I have little children at home, and all those kind of shared experiences are really special in the all women's program. So I go back and forth and wonder, should we have some cohorts or small group programs where people who are underrepresented in medicine can be together and also share that same kind of, I got you, I understand you, I'm living that same life, I'm walking that same walk. And then, of course, the other side of me always wonders, I don't want our males to feel like they're being pushed down or, this blamed for everything too. So I have heightened sensitivity to, we don't have anything for all males. And then, of course, my other friends will say, well, the men are doing fine, thank you very much. And I'm not sure that that's true, especially with our younger generations of younger millennial faculty coming up. So I struggle with that. I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one, but I'm just kind of curious what you think. Let me know. I'll talk to you next time on the Fact Chat. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye. Thanks for tuning in to Faculty Factory Podcast. The mission of the Faculty Factory is to build and support a community of leaders in faculty development who share tools, resources, wisdom, and encouragement in service to our faculty members, schools, and institutions. We encourage you to go to facultyfactory.org to find out more, get in touch with me, ask me any questions. Maybe you want to be interviewed on the podcast. Thanks for tuning in to Faculty Factory Podcast. We'll see you next time. The Faculty Factory podcast and website is sponsored by the Johns Hopkins University School of Medicine Office of Faculty. For more information, visit facultyfactory.org.